Hey friends, welcome to the Well Grounded Podcast. It's season 2. We are so happy to be doing this new series with you guys. And just to introduce ourselves, I'm Leigh Ann.
And I am Diane. And we are two lifelong friends that are just enjoying life over coffee and conversations. And Well Grounded is just that place. We are so excited to have you here for this episode. We are going to have a wonderful guest that's going to join us in just a few minutes. And we are just excited to share about fostering and adoption today. Our whole season for Sisterhood of Motherhood is just about different ages and stages of those moms that we know and love. And we just wanted to have different guests on this season that are going to just share their stories. And we can embrace those stories and encourage them throughout their journey of motherhood.
We're honored to introduce our friends to you, our friends online and our friends of our friends. So we are just extending that conversation out a little bit this season, and it's just been so rewarding to be a part of this. So, but before we introduce you to our guest, it's time for our latte moment.
Well, we are so excited for today's latte moment. We are in the season of Thanksgiving, and we are just giving thanks for so many great things right now. And today's latte moment is a homemade vanilla latte. And you're going to find that recipe on our notes, and I will also post that in our Instagram. Remember, it's at Well Grounded Podcast, and it is just a fun recipe to do. I will post that recipe, but it's very easy, and you can do a lot of little cheats because that's the thing that I have to do on these recipes. But it is a nice warm drink for if you're having a cold day somewhere. Not here in Florida, but if you're in another area of the country, you might have that. So
we have a sporadic cold day. We just don't know when to plan for that.
So I do know that there are a lot of recipes online. I just found one on the internet, so it's not anything scientific. So you'll just have fun making this at home as well.
Vanilla latte, the classic, right?
Yes,
Everybody
classic.
has to do that.
Yes.
But I am just privileged to introduce you to our friend Candace Hebert, who is here today. And she is going to be sharing about her family and her motherhood journey and her story. Welcome, Candace.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming and making time. You're a busy mom. Tell us a little bit about your family and what
your story.
Who is,
yeah.
Yes. Tell us
your rundown of things.
Before we get into the fostering and adoption conversation, give us your story.
So my husband and I have been together for 40 years.
Very good. Congratulations.
We were high school sweethearts. We've been married for 31. I had to ask my husband last night. I'm like, how many years have we been married?
He might ask me this.
How many years have we been together? And he's like 40. I'm like, okay, I kind of sound like my grandma right now. And he's like, and my son was sitting there kind of thinking the same thing. But we have a 27-year-old who's out of college and is engaged to be married next year.
Very exciting.
And we have a daughter who's 20, who's a sophomore at Auburn.
There you go.
And a son who's 18, who's a senior. And then our little guy, our caboose, like you guys have a caboose.
Yes.
He's 5, and we just adopted him in May.
Oh,
wow.
My goodness. And we are going to be talking about his precious life here in just a minute. But how far back does your connection to fostering, to adoption, how far back does that go for you personally? So tell us your story.
I would say it goes way back to just looking at people who needed things. I said, I'll always cry.
It's okay.
Because I remember like my dad, when our family barely had money when I was growing up, but he would be at a restaurant and buy somebody a shake just because he would see two kids standing there. My grandma, they were farmers in Illinois. And they took kids from Chicago. So just even growing up, hearing those things, my heart was always towards the child that was at the playground who was hurting.
That was modeled to you. That was shown to you from your family. I love it.
And I remember at 18 listening to Z88.3, I think at that time, and them talking about foster care and adoption. And even calling into this to the department and finding out how I could be a foster parent or adopt a parent.
So even way back then.
then. And they were telling me, and I was like, okay, well, I think that might be a little bit down the road. But so a very long time. And I always say, with everything of God's plan, there's a waiting period. Well, we waited almost 40 years.
Wow.
You know, it was a long journey,
yeah.
a long wait, and a long story, and a lot of things happened in that waiting that led us to the adoption.
Right.
Before we had our 20-year-old daughter, we brought a child over from Russia. He was 7 at the time, and we didn't adopt him, but we matched him with a family.
Oh, nice.
Who ended up adopting him. And then we didn't think we could have our last 2 children, and we started the adoption process from Russia. We were going through the home study, and then I had a tubal pregnancy. We got pregnant with Olivia, so we put the adoption on hold. Then I only had 1 tube, and God blessed us with another child. So we had 2 children back to back. And then,
like you said, God really had a plan in all of this. When you look back in that time, and you can just see now how His hand has been upon this journey so much.
And working on our hearts.
I was going to say, I would think the marriage piece of you and your husband, like, what were y'all both exactly in the same place with this? I don't know this. I just want to say, I know this precious family, but I really haven't ever asked you some of these questions, and we're thrilled to have this time to do that today, to just kind of get the background. I've observed from a distance as God has developed your family, and have known Sam's since kindergarten, he and Will in kindergarten together. So, but how did that look? I know in a lot of things in our marriages, it's like, I'm here, my husband's here, and we sort of switch spots in that. So how did that look for you and Mike?
Very much the same.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It was my calling.
Okay.
I always said my calling, not my husband's and not my family's.
Okay.
And this is a pretty big calling to put upon your husband and your children. And so we were in very different spaces, and one of the things he would say to me is, we are never adopting. Never adopting.
Never say never.
Okay, we are never adopting, but we can foster.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had 9 different foster children before our last placement, which we ended up adopting.
Oh, okay, nice.
And through every placement, we went through many different journeys.
Wow.
Let's pause on fostering for just a second, because I know I was asking you to tell the whole story, but I'm thinking of things that I've had these little snippet conversations with you over time about some things that, we would talk for 5 minutes at school or something, and she's like, I wish people knew,
Yes.
And one of the things that you said to me, and that I'd love for you to expand on a little bit, was, I wish people knew in fostering that you're approaching a whole family. It's not just that child that's independently coming into your home.
Yeah.
Can you explain, just focus on fostering for just a second, since you did that 9 times.
Right.
Yeah.
Very different situations, I'm assuming.
It is.
From one child to the next, one family to the next.
I'd say from the time that we started until now, which has been 7 years, that the perception of fostering has changed a little bit.
Okay.
I think it used to be that the people that fostered were crazy, who would take in kids who needed the extra attention or time,
so hard
or
on
put
your
themselves
family, the stigma of it
in that place. And you're basically walking into a case.
Yeah.
There's
also a stigma with fostering too, that there's people that abuse the system. You know, like there's foster parents that kind of rake the system and do different things. And so I know that, like you're saying, to have to change that perception a little bit is a big deal. Like you said.
It is a stigma, because the amount of work that a foster parent has to go through to get licensed. And I mean, the state knows everything about my husband and me and our family and our children, fingerprinted, background checks, life stories, all of our budgeting, our finances. Wow. They know everything, and they know everything every year. So every time you get relicensed,
if you want to continue that, you have to let them see all of that information each and every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
very vulnerable. Not everybody would be comfortable doing that. So,
and a lot of people will say to you, how can you foster?
Yeah.
I could never take a child and let them go.
Oh.
So what you're saying about me is that I'm pretty rotten for letting a child go. You know, and it's
to hear that, that's harsh.
It's
that's
hard.
kind of harsh.
And people don't think that it's hard.
No, you're right.
But it's
the undertone of that. So what is your response? Like, what would you want people to know about, like, why is it worth it? There is heartbreak in it.
And how did your heart get open to that? You know, because it's like
said
you
to
said,
me, they were my children before they were yours, and I will care for them
Candace.
even after they're gone. So
that's beautiful.
It's
just the timing.
Yeah.
You
and
get them for a time.
It was a time. And when kids would enter my home, and I would feel like I have to adopt this child. I mean, and they weren't even up for adoption.
Yeah.
You know, and people would say to me, "Are you going to adopt them?" I'm like, "No, they're not gonna. They're not gonna be adopted. Dad was trying to attack them, and they couldn't go to aunt and uncle because aunt and uncle did not feel safe.
So you were kind of the middle person.
So they came to
you were,
me for 2 weeks until they could get a court order to stop aunt and uncle from seeing them.
Yeah.
And so.
I was going to say, because not all situations, I think our understanding is all children who need foster families are waiting to be adopted. It's not a halfway place. That's not true, right? So educate us on that. So why are the different reasons that children might be in the foster system?
Yeah.
Neglect is a big one.
So losing parental rights, maybe temporarily.
They still have parental rights when they're in foster care.
Oh, okay.
They lose them because they have to work on some parenting skills.
Got it. Okay.
So they will be removed from the families until the families can shore up whatever they need to do, which is based upon a case plan.
Okay. Okay.
And many times in the foster program, they are trying to keep that family unit together.
All the time.
That is the primary goal.
That is the primary goal.
Which I don't think the general public knows that. I didn't know it until you mentioned it in passing to me one day. I was like, I do not know what I'm talking about this. And so
it's reunification. And during that time, those kids need to have someone championing for them to get their education squared away, maybe to get them tutoring, maybe they need swimming lessons, maybe they need, some extracurricular activities, maybe they need to go to the dentist, maybe they need their teeth fixed, maybe they need a surgery, which the parents that are parenting them don't have the skills to do that for these children.
Yeah.
So if we don't help them, they have no future.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
they're still growing. They're still kids. They don't pause because their family is unsteady at that time. Yeah.
When you started your fostering program, did you like your journey? Sorry, not program, but your journey. Did you have ages that you were in, like an age range that you wanted to be involved with, or were you able to set that with a foster organization, or how does that work?
You can. We were boys 4 to 6 or 7.
Okay.
It's a bigger window that you're licensed for. It's usually like 0 to 2 because you have to have certain equipment in your house for 0 to 2, or your house has to be, baby proofed and different things. And then there's
depending
another
on their
age range.
So,
but you get the calls for all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
they're in a desperate state a lot of times, so they just do that all call, I'm sure.
Yes, at night. And usually when we're considered open, my phone's going off every night at 10 o'clock. And sometimes I'm like, am I going to pick this up? Am I going to hear this case? Do I want, then we go through the questions of, is this the right placement for us? Or I know of somebody who's also a foster family. I'm like, okay, call this person.
Okay.
Because
you can refer to each other.
So you developed a community within the foster community as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very important.
As time has gone on. And a lot of people have started to foster because we've fostered. It's not so scary. People that we know, it's like, oh, I might be able to do this.
I was going to definitely say, for me, like when I heard about that, I remember we were in school one day and we were at a meeting or something, and my little ears perked up and I said, oh, fostering, I love to hear about these stories because not often do we hear the successful stories. Sometimes we just hear what went wrong. We just hear some of the messy things that are out there.
Yeah.
And so it just really, when I met you and we started even, talking about that, it was so encouraging encouraging to me to just know that, you know, how you've gone through this process, not just once, but like you said, many times, and how that is good.
It is messy.
Yeah.
And there's many times when I feel like we've been thrown into the depths of hell, and we can't do it anymore.
Wow. That's hard.
Yeah.
And
then somehow you find that strength.
Yeah, they usually
God gives that strength to you. Yeah.
Say one and done is the typical foster family.
Yeah.
Wow.
But as we've gone through it, after our first placement, the first 2 that we had, we thought we were one and done. And then I went to lunch with Betsy Bell and Rayshad Bell, and they were foster parents, and they said to me, what if, you know, one time a week somebody brought you a meal? What if you had somebody you could call that could encourage you and pray for you? And it was right after we had 2 siblings who they came into our house. I took the kids to school. I took the 2 little kids to daycare. I was sick. My husband was out of town. I had just dropped my car off. And I'm like, I am going home to lay down.
Yeah.
I laid down. I see a phone call from the daycare. And they said, okay, you need to come in and pick up your 2 little ones. We've found lice in their hair. It was right after we got them.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
And which is very common. And then I said, okay, I need to go pick up my other 2 kids at the other school. They all came home. They all had lice. I was barely standing up. You know, it was just one thing after the other that day.
Discouragement.
You know, someone come in and clean their hair. And I had my daughter had to go to soccer. My husband was out of town. We got home that night. The water was dripping through the house. The AC had broken. And I'm just like, I cannot go on. Why
challenges.
is this happening?
Right. Wow.
But then Betsy and Rayshad were saying, what if these people were available to you? And I said, it would be a game changer.
Yeah.
And that's when they founded Commission 127, I think about 4
I'm
or
so
5
glad you
years
mentioned
ago.
them. I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
what a supportive
So they
and amazing
founded-
community.
They founded
They founded
Commission
it.
127.
Ryan and Julia, my oldest, and her husband take meals once is it monthly or weekly or?
Well, they probably do it monthly because
Okay.
there's such a big group.
Okay.
Like,
Yes. So they are just starting, and then Julia is. I'm not going to say the right term for it, but she's getting certified to do ad litem.
yes, guardian ad litem.
Yes, guardian ad
That's
litem.
awesome.
So those kinds of things. We're going to link a lot of resources about this.
This will be,
but because we don't want to, I don't want to interrupt you on that. But there are so many people who've gone before to get it so that random families can say, I can do a meal.
Right.
I can do an encouragement of some kind. What are some of the other practical things, just to mention them, because we're going to share those more detail. But
And one of the things we say is that not all are called to foster or adopt, but everyone can help.
yes,
Yes.
the community.
And
I like that.
The children
Community.
of the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can because when a child enters your home, the child has just come from trauma.
Yeah.
They are leaving the people that they know and love, even though
Scary.
the situation
So
may
scary.
not be right.
even though it's a hard situation, it is the people
that's
that
what
they're
they know.
familiar with,
Right.
and they're
Right.
leaving that. Yeah.
They don't know the
I have to
difference.
find them a school. I
Yeah.
have to find them daycare. I have to get them to the doctor's office to be checked out within 24 hours.
Wow.
The case manager is coming to see me. The guardian ad litem is coming to see me. Plus, I'm trying to juggle my life,
Sure.
whatever else is
All the
going
other
on,
things.
and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
just like 10 o'clock at night. Here's your new kid. Go.
It's a very admirable
And they have
thing.
no clothes.
Yeah.
They have no
Yeah.
shoes, and so I'm trying to run to the store and get clothes and shoes. And sometimes Commission 127 will, go out and
Get those
things that you
Practical
need.
things, okay.
But sometimes you're not even sure what size shoes they need.
Right.
Or
I don't
they
know
need a
what-
diaper.
I
They're
don't know
3 or 4 and they still
my
are in
child that's been in my
diapers.
house for 17 years.
Right,
I have to take him to get his shoes, right? You don't know that stuff. Right?
Yeah. So it's been a game changer with the help of them in Central Florida.
That's amazing.
And just the community, like Facebook groups, and we lean on each other.
Good.
Just asking, like, okay, they have Sunshine medical insurance because all of them are on Medicaid.
Florida.
Who can we go
Florida
to
kids.
for dental,
networking,
who have you had
those
good
things.
experience.
On the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's,
Or who's taking most of the daycares when you get a child, they've already done their enrollment, and everyone's like, sorry, we have no room.
So you were saying that your fostering journey has been about 7 years of all that and things. And so when you think about your other children and the ages that they are now compared to then, how were they when you said, let's enter or let's have these kids come into the house and things? I know for myself, our third daughter, this is something that is near and dear to her heart. And so much so that when she was younger, one of our rooms in our upstairs, she created this nursery and she's like, Mom, we're all ready. Like we can have a foster, we can foster a child. We're all ready for this. And I was like, okay, maybe you are, but I am not. And I think I really just had her brother at that point. And I was just like, she was all in the baby mode. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Yeah. But I get that. And so, but I just know, like, how did you feel? Like, what did the kids think and say about all of this? Because I'm sure and especially with having different ones that have come along.
Yeah, it's my 18-year-old. Most of his life, that's all he's known. Right. He was 10, 11, 12.
Right. Yeah.
He's a gem.
So I look at, like I said, how it affected them, and they have amazed me. They've never questioned why. They've never said, even when we were going to adopt, they never said, no, don't do that. You know, the one thing they said was, Mom, you're not that young anymore. Are you sure you want to do this? And we're like, yeah, we're sure we want to do this. But,
well, what a blessing that is. I mean, it's amazing.
And that when you mentioned that, circled back to the comment that when the Lord spoke and said, these are my children before they're your children.
Yeah.
That is biological children too.
Yeah.
Right.
That applies.
Exactly.
That applies to our biological children as well.
Yeah.
That when you have this big picture perspective that God has given us the blessing, the word calls children a blessing from the Lord. And so when he's given us our children for a season.
Right. Well, and I say,
exactly.
I don't know how long I have my biological children. If someone would have said to me, you're going to have a child and he's only going to be with you 2 years, would you have said no? No, I would have not said no.
Right. Amen.
I'm just blessed to be able to pour into them.
Right.
Yeah.
For the time that I have them. They're God's.
Everything that we can. I wanted to ask, you mentioned that you've had in 7 years, had 9 placements, and that's 9 children come through. What, if any of them,
do you have a relationship with?
Yes. Who do you still have connection with? That's right. I kind of know at least one.
One of ours, the parents did not want us to have a relationship with, but I've been stalking him. I found out which school he went to, which it's always God things. I mean, God makes it so that I know where he is, and I can keep tabs on him.
There's some connection there.
There's a couple that got adopted by an aunt and uncle, and I text them. I don't get to see them that often just because I've had so many that it kind of, but I know that they're good, and they may come to one of Sam's games this year. I have
that's great.
Good.
2 others that got adopted that we don't have a connection with. There's another little boy who we had at 6. We had him for over a year and a half, and I have a big connection with. We got him into a private school. I bring him pack him lunch every Tuesdays and Thursdays, drop it off at the school, talk to the teachers.
Oh, wow.
The mom texts me. He'll always be a part of our life.
Yeah. Well, especially like you said, if you had fostered him for that long,
yes.
I mean, he definitely grew in that time, and also your family did as well, so it's a big deal.
So
and them letting you do that. It's such a, whatever they're going to let you do, you're going to want to do.
Yeah.
It's so.
Well, one reason why I know that when we were thinking about different guests for our season 2 is this one was such an easy, please come and speak with us, because you are really the epitome of a sisterhood of motherhood, of the idea behind that community involvement and getting other people on your team. It also is just the different ages and stages. I mean, right there in your house, I mean, what you're explaining is just exactly what we're trying to, convey to our listeners and for them to just hear your story and things. So let's get into the little guy. I want to hear about his story. Let's listen about him.
So why did you adopt this time?
Well, God had always had it on my heart not my husband, to adopt.
Okay.
That I always knew we were supposed to adopt, and I would be in church and I'd listen to sermons, and I felt like I just wanted to explode or run because the calling was so strong.
Yeah.
And this, when we took our last placement, we were not going to take a placement that year because my daughter was a senior, and we said, you know what, we're just going to sit tight.
Well, lots going on.
Lots going on.
Senior years, busy time.
We got a phone call, and I remember praying to God that, please, if we were supposed to adopt, make this child come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
open those doors.
Yeah, because fostering is hard.
Yeah.
And, you know, either take this away from me, take away this calling, or bring this child.
It's a really important prayer.
Yeah.
So we got the call.
That's a big prayer.
No, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
very good.
We've had this. Yeah.
We got a call, and the little guy's name was Angel. And I said, this is a sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I called Commission 127.
Yeah.
I said, can you support us? I need to know I'm going to have support this year.
Sure.
Once.
Yeah.
And they called me back and they said, yeah, we can support you. We have a group that's able to take you on.
Wow.
So when our little guy came in our house, from day one, we were mom and dad. And I knew that he was ours.
No.
Yeah.
You know, my husband didn't know he was ours.
He had to warm up to that a little bit. Yeah.
He was a visitor. He's a visitor that never left. Yeah.
And he was calling us all mom, dad. He adopted us. That's what I say. He adopted us.
Yeah.
And 2 years later.
I was going to say, how long was that process?
He was 3 at the time, right?
He was 3.
I met him at a mom's event.
Yep.
And I had my Charlotte with me. And she's like, that kid is really special, Mom. I'm like, I know.
He's a honey. He was considered nonverbal.
Wow.
Still in diapers. And now at his teacher conference, they're like, can he please be quiet? The boy cannot stop talking.
Love it. Love it.
There you go.
See, we prayed really hard for that. We don't want to make it
right.
quiet.
Yeah. That's what I tell my husband all the time. He's like, can you zip it, quiet. Like, honey, no, we worked hard on that.
Yeah.
So,
well, and just so for our listeners, because some of them may already feel that tug in their heart right now. They might be listening and thinking, you know, how do I get started with this? How do I start this journey? Where do I turn? You know, I mean, I know every state is different and probably even counties are different depending on things. So what would you say is a good starting point?
In Orange, Osceola, Seminole County, you can either reach out to Fostering Our Future, which does the pre-licensing courses, and they will get you on your way. And there's also, that's probably the best spot to start right now.
We'll link to that. And
we'll definitely send that out.
And then nationally, there's something similar in those
in different
states, in different areas.
States. So like their Department of Children and Families.
I know for me too. I mean, I've heard a lot of churches have like a fostering weekend where you can learn about how to become a foster care,
workshop,
a foster parent and things. And so, I mean, I know they're trying to change that stigma some. They're trying to just bring in and find new parents because like you said, a lot of them are one and done. And so you have to find a constant churn of people that are interested in doing this. And I think something too for listeners is, I know for you've done this for years, but what would be a benefit if they did just do a one and done? Like would that be okay? Like, is that an all right thing? I mean, would that help the system if someone did that?
Because there's always kids.
Okay.
And whatever you can do is a help.
Yeah.
And there will always be kids.
It's a lot of work to get the licensing and to do that. But if you had to have a heart for, we could invest and walk alongside to whatever we're allowed to do with a family. You know, whether that's through the fostering and the licensing or being
Commission
one of those support.
Right.
Commission 127. Yes, 127. Yeah, we will be linking information for that too. And we talk about this a lot in the body of Christ, and it fits with mothers supporting mothers and families supporting families. But you might be in a season where you're the giver, and you might be in another season where you're the one needing to be given to or supported, right? So being able to say, I have margin for this time, mental ability, physical, financial, whatever, because in another season, it might be somebody else who's taking that up. But there's always something that can be done with this. But
I definitely wanted to ask you too, before we wrap things up today, is what about a verse or things that have just really meant a lot to you during this whole journey for you?
That would be James 1:27,
okay,
which is what Commission 127 is based off of.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. And that's the whole basis of Commission 127.
It's all of our calling.
Yeah.
It's all of our calling. Yeah.
Do you find that so I know we have to wrap things up, but before we do that, I did want to share one more thing about the whole adoption process, because I know you foster him. You said it was about 2 years, and then you said he was adopted in May. So just give us a little bit of a glimpse into what that beautiful day was like.
It was so fun.
We had celebration, I'm
about
sure.
60 or 70 people come to the adoption at the courthouse.
It was
Packed it out. Loved
our
it.
friends, and the best thing was my children's friends came.
Yeah.
And that was just so sweet. And then we had a big party afterwards, and it kind of was it happens over so much time.
Right. By the time you
that
get to
it was
the day,
just like,
Right.
just checking the boxes,
Sure.
and it was more of a celebration, and glad it's all done, and we don't have to go to court anymore. We don't have to case managers visit anymore. No more guardian ad litem. No more. That was part of my talk, is that it's just no more of any of these things that we have to do.
You get to just be a parent to him. And
right. We just get to
live life and do that together.
Yeah.
Well, I know today has been so special. Just being able to hear your story, and I hope it just really encourages others to just, let your heart and let that be your guide. And if you feel that tug on your heart, and you feel that God is just really, giving you, I've been to many of those concerts and things where you sponsor children and doing all that, and you do feel that tug on your heart. And so it is so important. And we just thank you so much for being a part of Well Grounded.
And we're starting a conversation.
2. Yes.
This is the start of a conversation.
Right.
And we probably emphasize the fostering piece even more than the adoption piece today. But a lot of times people lump those together. And so we just want to start the conversation that there's a whole other lane of this, and we'll be sharing more. We're going to get more resources from you so that we can share them with you guys. But we're just so grateful for you. So glad you were here.
Very thankful.
So glad we could talk about it.
We're so thankful for your sweet family to have the little guy now.
Yeah.
So you got this. He's going to keep you young.
He is.
He's going to keep you. He's the
young and tired.
chatterbox.
So your ages, just so we can wrap things up here, but go for
27, 20, 18, and 5.
And 5. The caboose. I love it.
We love a good little boy caboose around here.
Well, do you want to close us out?
Yes, I do. We have a verse for this season that I just want to share. It's from Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and even more as you see the day approaching. Hebrews 10, 24 and 25.
Yes.
Guys, be refreshed.
Be encouraged and stay well grounded.